So you're thinking about doing some RVing in your retirement, but man, there's a lot to learn, isn't there? But here's the thing, if you learn these 5 things, you will just jump right over the newbie phase and get onto that beautiful, exciting retirement life you are after. So come on in. Welcome. My name is Heather, and my husband Paul and I have been RVing for 25 years, and we've done everything from a pop-up to a teardrop to a Class A diesel pusher to a big old fifth wheel, and now in our Airstream, which we absolutely love. But trust me when I say we know a thing or two about being newbies. So just learn these 5 things and you will be well on your way to being RV experts in your retirement. And let's get to the first one. It's okay to poop. That's right. I can't tell you the number of retirement RVers that we have run into that for some reason don't poop in their rig. I mean, seriously, you're spending tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars to have all of the conveniences of home and you don't poop in the toilet? You know, that's kind of like buying a brand new dishwasher and continuing to wash your dishes by hand because you don't want to get it dirty. But there are a few secrets to making sure that pooping in your potty is going to be okay. You don't want to end up with a really smelly black tank or sensors that quit working. And we've done enough of this to know how to prevent the problems. One of the most important things you can do, and it's something we actually recently learned, is to use a solution called Clean Tank. I am going to put the link to that below. They will give you all of the instructions, but it's this liquid. You mix it in a gallon jug. It's a mixture of pine sol and Calgon, and trust me, not only does it smell great, it works great. And this is something that we actually learned from the Airstream community. I was a little bit concerned about whether pine sol was going to ruin my pipes, but there are enough people who have done this for a number of years to have convinced me, and it turns out it works great. It is better than anything else we have ever tried. We used to use those pods. The problem with the pods, yes, they're convenient, but the little plastic doesn't actually dissolve very well, and that is what ends up clogging up your sensors. So sometimes your black tank sensor can say you're 50% full even though you're 100% empty. And what we have noticed is since we switched to using the Clean Tank solution, we have none of those problems. So highly recommend it. But there is one more thing you're going to want to do with your poop, and that is called dump it. So let's get on to the next step of making you an expert. And there is one thing you're going to want to do every single time. So the basic rule of thumb when emptying your tanks is you want to empty your black tank first and then the gray tank, because that way the gray water will kind of flush out what's left over from the black. However, there is a very, very important step to do first, and that is you have to test the connection. And the way you do that is once you have it connected, just pull the gray tank valve just a little bit, give it a little tug, and make sure nothing is spilling out. And then if it's all good, push it back in and let the black tank rip. If you skip this step, you might run the risk of the connection is not fully tight. And then you pull the black tank at full force, and trust me, you do not want to see what happens next. Not like that's ever happened to us once in a love station. Well, so now you are pooping and dumping like a pro. By the way, Paul and I spend about 6 months a year traveling in our RV full time. And then the other half of the year, we travel the rest of the world. We do it on cruise ships. And then we also do it by planes, trains, and automobiles to other countries. So if you are interested or looking for more retirement travel, I do invite you to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll be alerted every time a new video comes out. And next up on the Newbie No-Nos is the walk around. Come on.
Look at those newbies.
They forgot their hoses.
Okay, so obviously I had a little bit of fun with that AI video, but I think it makes my point. You really do want to walk around your RV and check everything before you pull off, because you don't want to be dragging any hoses or anything else. So what I do is as I walk around, I look it over top to bottom, side to side. If you have slides, make sure they are all the way in and secure. And don't forget to lock that bar down on the inside. And then look underneath as well, because sometimes those stabilizer pads, even if you think you've pulled them up, maybe they're not up all the way. This is also a good time to check your propane tank. And don't forget about those awnings. If yours has a hook or some sort of stabilizing mechanism, make sure to hook it down. I also go around and double check all of the windows to make sure not only that they are closed, but that they are also latched. And then we pull out because we are good to go. All right, this is a big one because it's a big safety issue. We are talking about tire pressure monitor systems. We have this one, and I love this. Paul designed this little cup holder adapter, so it is always here and is always easy to see. This is not something to take lightly because a blowout at a minimum can be costly, but at a maximum, it can be deadly. So the tire pressure monitor system will alert you anytime there's a problem with your tires, whether they get too hot or they lose pressure, and you need to pay attention to that for sure. You know, it's kind of like wearing a seatbelt. You hope you don't ever need it, but when you do, you are very, very happy that you have it. We never, ever travel without it. We always turn it on when we are hooking the RV up, and that way we can monitor the tires before we even take off. And then we just pay very close attention as we're going down the road, and let me tell you, that gives us a whole lot of peace of mind. This is something that is non-negotiable. Well, now that your tires have gotten you there safely, time for our last newbie no-no, and that is water. You need to know your water situation before you even get to your campground. Now, there are two schools of thought on this. Some people travel with their water tank full, and others travel with it empty. We prefer to travel with it empty because we do not like to have the extra weight. And others like to travel with their tank full, so they really don't have to think about it when they get there. But one thing is for sure, you do not want to go with your water tank half full, because then you're just going to have this huge amount of water. It's very heavy and it's going to be sloshing back and forth as you travel down the road, and that is the no-no. Now, in order to decide what your preference is, you really do need to research your campground that you're going to first. Some of them don't have water. Some of them have water, but it might be at a fill-up station before you get in, or it might be at your campsite. It is best that you know that before you're going into the park. Also, there are campgrounds that have water spigots for drinking use, but what they don't have are threads on the spigot, and they kind of don't want you screwing in your water hose and filling up your tank. However, there is this little thing called the Water Bandit in case you are really in a pinch and you need it. You just squeeze the rubber end around the spigot that has no threads, and then you can go ahead and fill your water tank. Yes, we have had to use that once or twice. So just make sure you have enough. We always bring these water jugs and we fill them up, making sure we use potable water. We also use our potable water only hose because that way there's no cross-contamination. And we have 2 of these jugs. We fill them up. That way we have 10 gallons no matter what the circumstances. And by the way, as an aside, can you look at this picture and tell which of these jugs we filled up at Glacier National Park with glacier water, and which one we filled up at Teddy Roosevelt National Park? That's no diss on Roosevelt National Park. We absolutely loved it, but let's just say the water was a little bit better at Glacier. So whatever you do, whatever your choices, just make sure you fully understand your water situation before you go, and you will be in great shape. You can drink, you can cook, and you can shower to your heart's content. Well, we've now covered your tires, a thorough walk around, the water situation, and of course, your poop. And now you are officially experts. Thank you so much for watching The Freedom Strategy, and I will see you next time.